be the best, simple and plain. That's why I play the game. To be the best, you have to win. And that's what drives me.
He's the best player in the game. It's just that simple.
Yo, what's going on, good people? We back with another tragic video. Coming through the door, kick your shoes off, get comfortable. You with the negative energy, please exit the building because this is not time for that. So the Reagan International Airport is closed after a fatal plane crash. This is sad, man.
Best moments deserve.
This is another live look at the scene right now by Reagan National Airport. Again, the airport is closed, not surprising given what has happened this evening, and still a very active scene at this hour.
Yeah, no question. We want to bring in ABC's aviation analyst, John Nance. And John, it's good to see you, but not under these circumstances. You've covered so many crashes in your career. Tell us what you're thinking about this based on what you saw, based on a helicopter right behind that passenger plane, and how did they crash? What's your thoughts?
Well, you've got a classic mid-air collision here, two airplanes trying to occupy the same space, and how that happened. One of the tragedies here is this is one of the most controlled pieces of airspace in the world.
And that's why this right here, people is mind boggled by this because they're trying to find out how did this happen. This should never happen. Some people say it's a setup, allegedly, because it's a military plane. This was a military plane that crashed into this private jet, basically. Well, I ain't gonna say private jet, but it was a jet filled with 64 passengers, 60 passengers and 4 crew members.
It's right adjacent to the Capitol and to downtown Washington, D.C. The controller was talking to both pilots, but how in the world they came to misunderstand, or somebody misunderstood a command, that's one of the things that's going to have to be sorted out. Hopefully we'll be able to get the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. But this is one of those accidents that we're not talking about blame. We're talking about how in the world does one aircraft end up in the path of the other aircraft? That's going to be the key point, because we didn't have anything obviously wrong with either bird. And to have an Army Black Hawk, which is a very, very sophisticated airplane, involved in this is also extremely worrisome.
You know, John, over the last few years, there's been a lot of conversations about close
He said it. He even said something strange about that.
calls. We report on them more often than we would like. And concerns about air traffic controllers, whether or not there's enough, whether or not they're getting the support they need. You know, where does all this factor into this equation as we take a look at what happened here near Reagan National?
Well, as we look at this, one of the things, of course, that is absolutely true. We talk quite a bit in the media about near misses that are really kind of a mile and a half, or maybe a half a mile, and they violated the basic provisions of not getting air traffic close to each other. But this was not one of those situations. This is just a brought-on collision, and as I say, one of the most controlled pieces of airspace in the country. So how these two came to be where they were at that particular point in time is going to be one of the major questions that's going to be on the table immediately. And of course, everything will be looked at. The other thing that's really worrisome is this is very much like the January 12th, 1982 collision, or not collision, but the flight that could not sustain flight after takeoff of Palm 90, which.
But just think about that. Somebody got to get at fault for this, because just say, for instance, if this was the president's plane, private plane, and this military chopper ran into that plane because of some miscommunication or whatever it so be, that should never happen. That should never happen. And this right here is going to have a lot of people skeptical of flying now because of stuff like this that's going on. It's the beginning of the year. It ain't even February yet, and we got all this type of tragedy going on right now. Now, they haven't put out how many people have been found and how many people still missing. I'm gonna give y'all an update on that once they break the news, but this right here is just sad. And like I said, whatever they got going on, we the people gonna be the casualties. Look how many casualties that's gonna be taking place in this situation. And like I said, it's the beginning of the year, and this is sad that people got to lose their lives like this.
737 that hit the 14th Street Bridge. And the reason I bring that up is because there were survivors of the accident to the extent that they were underwater, but they drowned essentially because of the cold water, because of the inability to rescue anybody else, and that was something that we have here, very much reminiscent in terms of the water temperature, which is just a little bit above freezing.
John, we hear so much about collision avoidance systems, and sort of the Black Hawk helicopter would have one. Certainly, the passenger plane would have one. What happened here? What did it not go in? Was it too low to go in?
I think that probably what we're going to find is that this helicopter probably did not have a system that you described here, which is basically collision avoidance, TCAS we call it.
Yeah.
And it probably came in from an angle in such a way that the TCAS wouldn't have had time to give a climb or descend warning to the pilots. We just don't know at this point. Black Hawks are extremely sophisticated, but they are not normally in civilian airspace, and therefore they don't have necessarily the same level of equipment.
Yeah, good point.
John, we want to bring in Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger, who is following this story for us.
But it's not about them having the same equipment. It's the simple fact that they was both in contact with the radio towers, and somehow they ended up colliding. That's strange. That is very, very strange.
I want to bring him back into the conversation with a question for you. Josh.
Well, John, it's good to talk to you. I know I've heard a lot of pilots over the years talk about how Reagan National, not unlike LaGuardia, is just a tricky airport to fly into. It's busy, it's congested, the runways are short. One thing I've also noticed always is the presence of these military helicopters that are...
And here we go with excuses. It shouldn't even be that. It's about the safety of the passengers. We're not trying to make no excuses. Y'all should be thinking about the safety of the passengers.
Over the place because of the nature of where this is. Could you talk a little bit about, as a pilot, what you're looking at when you're coming into Reagan National in particular, and is it just too complicated for passenger flight given all the military operations there?
Here we go with this shit.
Well, the military operations are always subservient to the interests of security for the arriving and departing jetliners, and they're under very positive control of air traffic control before they even leave high altitude, aiming or coming into the Washington area. So each one of those helicopters, regardless of what their specific role is, has the responsibility to stay the heck away from the most critical corridors from landing and takeoff, and they do a wonderful job. They're there in some cases as security. They're in other cases.
So this just debunk what the reporter just said, because he's letting you know they do a good job of staying away from areas they don't supposed to be in, because they're trained to do that and do so. So somebody messed up. Something went wrong. Somebody didn't do their job right. That's basically what this is saying right here. And like I said, there's so many casualties about to be brought up. I hope it's not, but when it's something like this is serious. They say the water was frigid cold. We already know it's cold out there. Come on now.
For executive transportation for the government, but they have an absolute unshakable duty to stay away from the flight paths of any of the civilian airliners, and that's one of the things that it sounds to me like there was a radio call. We don't know this yet for certain because it's very early, but that the helicopter pilot was told to do something, and whether or not that was done, whether it was an error in the transmission or not, we don't know. But this is one of the last places I would expect to have this kind of a collision, because the folks in our military helicopters are very, very cognizant of how to stay out of the way.
And that's what I'm saying. Something ain't right, because they trained to stay away from certain areas that's critical. So who didn't do their job right? Somebody didn't do their job right.
You mentioned that you're waiting to hear what actually came out of all the communications. How long does that usually take to go public?
I think we'll probably have some readout for the general public within 24 hours because it is a public channel. And there's going to be other stuff, of course. We won't know what's on the flight data recorder or the cockpit voice recorder for a little while. But this one, because of where it is and because of the severity of the crash, I think we will learn a lot fairly quickly. The National Transportation Safety Board is headquartered in Washington. They are already all over this, and they have a tendency to basically talk to the public as soon as they reasonably can. So I wouldn't expect it'll go too long, but I caution. There is never, ever one cause to an aerial accident. Never, ever. Never seen it, never will. Right. So there'll be more that we'll find out over time.
Have y'all ever seen the show 9/11 with Angela Bassett on season 1? They had an episode similar to this. Y'all watched that.
John, thank you very much for being with us tonight and educating us in some respects. Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg, who's like you, taking a look at this scene tonight, that water in the Potomac, so cold, so dark. He's got a quick question for you.
John, looking at some of the wind observations, there was a gust in D.C. to about 40 miles an hour this afternoon, but it had subsided around that.
Here they go with the excuses. That don't got nothing to do with it. Somebody didn't do their job right. Them two planes was never supposed to meet. They was never supposed to be in the same area by each other.
9 o'clock observation at Reagan National. The gusts were about 26 miles an hour, which doesn't seem off the charts, but could slight turbulence as approaching landing or that type of gust, could that have shimmied a plane off course slightly?
It is possible. You say, probability and possibility. It's not probable, but it is possible that there was an upset of either the jetliner or the helicopter that somehow got their two courses to intercept. But that's pretty wild when you consider the fact that they're very well aware that they've got to be in the place that they are supposed to be. The jet coming in for landing, the American Eagle flight certainly is following an instrument landing system approach, and the folks in the helicopter are hopefully doing what they need to do to stay out of the way. How that came to grief probably does not involve the weather, but I will tell you that that's 25, 35 not good.
Just debunked all that shit right there, because they gonna try to make all type of excuses when we know somebody didn't do their job right. Somebody didn't do their job right. It was miscommunication, and somebody didn't do their job right.
That's pretty significant.
John Nance, very much appreciate all this critical information. We'll continue to track this, and thank you and turn to you for any new information that comes forward.
It's the beginning of the year, and we see what's going on.
Thank you for being here with us at 11 o'clock.
It ain't even February yet.
It has been a long night, and it is destined to be a very long one. I'm Leslie Foster. We've got team coverage for you as we work to piece together what happened here. Alexis Wainwright, Matt Gregory, and Larry Miller are all on this story for us tonight. It is all hands on deck here for us here at WUSA 9. Our Larry Miller is live at Reagan National Airport, where we know there are no flights coming in or going out. And there were quite an effort to get the people who were stuck there out of there.
Well, just imagine the people that's trying to get to other places that can't even do that. Flights delayed and canceled.
Off on their way to Dulles Airport.
Motion.
Well, absolutely, Leslie and Lorenzo. I want to let you know, maybe about 5 minutes ago, I just wrapped up one of the most heartbreaking interviews of my professional career. A gentleman, along with another family member, was waiting to get information on his wife, that was on that American Airlines flight coming from Wichita, Kansas into Reagan National. He showed me the text message, that the last one that he received from his 26-year-old wife, where she said that she was preparing to land in about 20 minutes. And that was the last message that he received from her. I asked him what's going through his mind. How is he feeling? And you can see him visibly shocked. We're working on trying to get that sound turned around in studio. Once you guys get that sound prepared, let me know, and I'll certainly toss to it. But it was heartbreaking to hear what this man was going through. I asked him.
Just think about it. The water is frigid cold right now. All those people, it was 60 people on there and 4 crew members. Pray for the families.
Sort of information had he received from the airline? He said nothing. Anything from investigators? Nothing. He said it wasn't until looking on social media that he realized something had happened, and he brought his way down here to the airport. We have that sound ready. Let's take a listen.
I'm just praying that somebody's pulling her out of the river right now as we speak. That's all. She texted me that they're landing in 20 minutes.
Can you show us a text message that you got from her?
In 20 minutes, the rest of my text didn't get delivered. That's when I realized something might be up.
That's when he realized something might be up when he didn't get a response from his wife who was on that plane. I asked him about his wife. He said that she went to Wichita, Kansas for work and that she always had a fear of flying, that she never really was comfortable. And
that's going to make a lot more people uncomfortable with flying. It's 2025, the beginning of the year. It ain't even February yet, and we got all these tragedies.
He is waiting desperately for answers. He's by his phone trying to talk with anyone that could potentially give him some information. I told him the little bit of information that we had and provided that to him. But you saw him along with another family member pacing this terminal, Terminal 2, trying to get answers about his wife that was on that American Airlines flight. Guys.
That gentleman that you talked with reminds us that the plane crashed, but dreams crashed, hopes crashed, lives crashed. So much happened when that plane did not land on runway 33 like it was supposed to tonight.
And like I said, if y'all watch 9/11 with Angela Bassett on season 1, they got an episode
Take it in any way, shape.
that's similar to this situation. Like they put the stuff right in the movies, the TV shows and everything, but pray for the families out there. If there's more updates, I'll be bringing them to y'all. It might not be live, but definitely gonna bring y'all more updates about that because that's sad and tragic. It ain't even February. I keep saying it, and we are already dealing with all this tragedy. Y'all stay prayed up. Peace and blessings to everybody. Shout out to my new subscribers. We the People TV. I'm gone.